On April 27, 1521, a small island in the Philippines became the site of a battle that changed world history. Here, a Filipino warrior named Lapu-Lapu stood his ground against the most powerful empire of his time, and defeated Ferdinand Magellan, the man leading Spain's expedition around the globe. When people talk about world-changing explorers, Ferdinand Magellan's name always comes up. He was the Portuguese navigator sailing for Spain, leading the first voyage to circumnavigate the globe. His expedition crossed the Atlantic, survived storms, and discovered routes no European had taken before. By 1521, Magellan's ships reached the islands we now call the Philippines. To Spain, this was just another stop, a chance to plant a flag, spread Christianity, and claim new lands. But to the Filipinos who lived there, it was something else entirely, an invasion. Magellan first made contact in the Visayas, where he was welcomed by some local rulers, such as Raja Humabon of Cebu. Through diplomacy and gifts, Magellan managed to gain allies. He baptized Humabon and his wife into Christianity, hoping to build loyalty to Spain. But not everyone agreed. Just across the channel from Cebu lay the island of Mactan, ruled by Datu Lapu-Lapu. Unlike Humabon, Lapu-Lapu refused to bow to foreign powers or abandon his traditions. He rejected Magellan's authority outright. This set the stage for conflict. On the dawn of April 27, 1521, Magellan led a force of about 60 armored men, armed with muskets, crossbows, and steel weapons. Confident in their superior technology, they sailed to Mactan, believing they could easily subdue the local warriors. Waiting for them were around 1,500 men commanded by Lapu-Lapu. Armed with spears, Campellan swords, and bamboo shields, they were ready to fight for their land. As the Spaniards struggled to wade through shallow waters, weighed down by heavy armor, the Mactan warriors attacked with speed and precision. Spears flew through the air, arrows struck, and the Spaniards realized too late that they were outnumbered. Magellan himself fought bravely, but he was struck by a poisoned arrow, then overwhelmed by spears and blades. Pigafetta, Magellan's chronicler, wrote that the captain was surrounded and cut down, while his men fled to the ships. The great explorer's journey ended, not in glory but on the sands of Mactan, defeated by Filipinos defending their homeland. So who was Lapu-Lapu? Lapu-Lapu was a chieftain of Mactan, remembered as the first Filipino hero to resist foreign colonization. While historians can't prove he personally struck the fatal blow to Magellan, sources agree that he commanded the warriors who defeated him. This distinction matters. It wasn't just one man who ended Magellan's voyage, it was the collective will of a people led by Lapu-Lapu, refusing to surrender their freedom. For the Spanish Empire, the defeat at Mactan was humiliating. They were used to toppling kingdoms with small armies. But here, on a tiny island, their famed weapons and armor failed. The victory sent a message. Filipinos were not passive tribes waiting for colonizers. They had leaders, armies, and strategies capable of resisting even the world's most powerful empire. Today, Lapu-Lapu stands as a symbol of Filipino pride and resistance. He is honored as the first hero of the Philippines. His monument rises in Mactan, a city bears his name, and his story is taught in every classroom. Even the Philippine National Police Force is named the Lapu-Lapu Command, invoking his bravery. His face even appeared on the old 1-centavo coin. For Filipinos, he represents the spirit of defiance, the refusal to bow to oppression, and the courage to fight for sovereignty. But Lapu-Lapu's story isn't just for Filipinos, it's part of global history. The Battle of Mactan ended Magellan's personal voyage. Though his remaining ships would eventually complete the circumnavigation, Magellan never lived to see it. This means that the first circumnavigation of the globe, one of Europe's greatest achievements, was also shaped by Filipino resistance. Without Mactan, history might have unfolded differently. It's important to note, the story of Lapu-Lapu survives mainly because of Antonio Pigafetta's written account. Without him, we might never have known the details of that battle. And yet for centuries, many history books outside the Philippines minimized or just, ignored this event. Only in recent decades has Lapu-Lapu been given the global recognition he deserves, not as a footnote in Magellan's death, but as a leader who defended his people against, honestly, impossible odds. But memory is not just what is written down. It is also what is carried in songs and stories whispered by elders, in monuments, and in the names of streets and towns. In the Philippines, Lapu-Lapu became more than a man. He became a symbol, a fisherman, a warrior, a chief, a defender of his homeland. His name lived on because ordinary people refused to let it vanish. It is remarkable to think that while empires wrote volumes about their victories, one small island battle could still echo through 5 centuries. That is the power of memory. It survives where power fades. And today, in every statue, every school lesson, and every retelling of that fateful morning in Mactan, Lapu-Lapu's spirit endures. And perhaps that is why memory matters. It allows us to reclaim stories that once belonged only to the margins. It reminds us that history is not a single voice, but a chorus, and that even those dismissed as defeated or insignificant can shape the destiny of nations. The story of Lapu-Lapu and the Battle of Mactan reminds us of something timeless. History isn't just written by conquerors. Sometimes it's written by those who stood their ground. For Filipinos, it's a story of pride, that long before independence movements or revolutions, their ancestors had already shown the world that freedom is really worth fighting for. But for the rest of the world, it's a story with its own lesson. It tells us that empires are not unstoppable, that technology, armor, and titles mean little when faced with the determination of people defending their home. It is a reminder that courage, even when outnumbered or underestimated, can alter the course of history. Think of the irony. Ferdinand Magellan set out to circumnavigate the globe to bring new lands under Spain's crown, to inscribe his name into eternity. Yet his story ended not in glory but in the sands of Mactan. Before warriors he had dismissed as savages. His empire lasted centuries, but his greatest defeat ensured that the name of Lapu-Lapu would last just as long. On April 27, 1521, Magellan's journey ended in the Philippines. And the name of Lapu-Lapu was carved into history. Not as a conqueror, but as a defender. The Filipino warrior who defeated Magellan. And that is why his story still matters today. Because in every age, there are those who try to dominate, and there are those who resist. Lapu-Lapu reminds us that resistance is never in vain, that sometimes a single battle on a small island can echo across centuries. For the Philippines, it is a legacy of courage. For the world, it is a reminder that even the greatest powers can be humbled. And for all of us, it is proof that true immortality lies not in conquest, but in the memory of a people who refuse to forget.